If you don't take care of them. What are you talking about? You heard me. Take care of them.
I said no to babysitting my sister's kids, so she dumped them in a taxi to my address anyway, except the driver got it wrong. 3 days later, I got the call that destroyed her. My sister Valeria has always believed the world should bend to her convenience. Growing up, she was the golden child who could do no wrong, while I was expected to be grateful for whatever scraps of attention came my way. Our parents, Marlene and Colton, made it clear from the start that Valeria's needs trumped mine in every situation. When she wanted my room because it had better lighting, I moved to the basement. When she needed money for college, my scholarship fund mysteriously disappeared into her tuition payments. I accepted it all with the naivete of someone who didn't know better. Family meant sacrifice, or so I'd been taught. Valeria married Damon when she was 24, a real estate developer who treated her like a princess and bankrolled her lifestyle without question. They had 2 kids, Ophelia and Marek, who were now 8 and 5 respectively. I loved those kids fiercely despite everything else. They were innocent in all of this, just children caught between the dysfunction of adults who should have known better. The problem started escalating about a year ago when Valeria decided she needed me time more frequently. Her definition of me time involved expensive spa weekends, shopping trips to Northcrest Harbor, and wine tastings in the Halden Valley. She'd call me up expecting free childcare with maybe an hour's notice, completely disregarding that I had a full-time job as a financial analyst and a life of my own. I said yes too many times. The pattern became unbearable. Last month, Valeria called on a Thursday afternoon while I was in the middle of a critical presentation for a potential client. My phone buzzed relentlessly until I finally excused myself and answered. "I need you to watch the kids this weekend," she announced without preamble. "I can't. I have plans." "Cancel them. Damon booked us a surprise trip to Mapleford Ridge, and we leave tomorrow morning." My jaw clenched. "Valeria, I'm asking you to find someone else. I have a work commitment I can't reschedule." "You're so selfish," she hissed. "Family is supposed to help family. What's more important than your niece and nephew? This isn't about them. This is about you assuming I have no life of my own." She hung up on me. I thought that was the end of it. Saturday morning arrived cool and crisp. I was scheduled to attend a professional development conference downtown, something I'd registered for months in advance. The session started at 9 o'clock, and I was running through my notes over coffee when my phone rang. Unknown number. "Hello. Is this the residence of the person who lives at 742 Aldercrest Lane, Unit 18F? My stomach dropped. "Yes, this is she." "Who's calling?" "This is Officer Rylan Keats with the Briarbrook PD. We have 2 minors here who were found alone outside an apartment building. They had a note with this address." As flooded my veins. What are you talking about?" A taxi driver dropped off 2 children approximately ages 8 and 5 at 742 Aldercrest Lane, but there is no Unit 18F in that building. The building only goes up to 10 floors. The kids were left on the sidewalk. A neighbor called us when she found them crying. "Wait. I live at 742 West Aldercrest Lane, Unit 18F. Is the address on the note missing the West?" "Let me check the note." "Yes. Just says 742 Aldercrest Lane." The driver took them to East Aldercrest, which is completely across town. My hands shook so badly I nearly dropped the phone. "Oh my God. Are they okay? Are they hurt?" "They're frightened but physically unharmed." "Can you verify their identities?" "They say their names are Ophelia and Marek Rollon." "Yes, those are my niece and nephew." "Where are they now?" "At the 11th precinct. We need a guardian to come pick them up immediately." I grabbed my keys and wallet, not even bothering to change out of my pajama pants. The conference could go to hell. Those babies were alone and scared because of Valeria's reckless entitlement. The precinct was chaos when I arrived. I identified myself at the desk, and a female officer led me to a small room where Ophalie and Merrick sat on a bench holding hands. Ophalie's face was streaked with tears, and Merrick was clutching a stuffed dragon like his life depended on it. "Aunt Greer!" Ophalie launched herself at me, sobbing into my shoulder. I held them both, fury building in my chest like a wildfire. "You're safe now. I've got you." Officer Keats appeared with paperwork. "We need to document this incident. Can you explain your relationship to these children?" "I'm their maternal aunt. Their mother is my sister." "And where is their mother?" "I have no idea." The admission tasted bitter. "She asked me to babysit this weekend. I told her no because I had work obligations. I had no knowledge she planned to send them anywhere." Officer Keats' expression hardened. "So she sent 2 minors alone in a taxi without confirming someone would be there to receive them? Apparently. That's child endangerment. We'll need to file a report." My phone buzzed. "Valeria." I declined the call. It rang again immediately. "You should probably answer that," Officer Keats suggested. Picked up. "What the hell did you do?" she shrieked. "Where are my kids?" "The taxi driver said he dropped them off hours ago. They're at a police station because you put them in a cab to an address that doesn't exist." Silence. "What are you talking about?" "I sent them to your apartment. I live at 742 West Aldercrest Lane." "You wrote 742 Aldercrest Lane with no east or west. The driver took them clear across town to a building without an 18F. Did you even verify the address before shoving your children into a taxi alone? Don't you dare lecture me. This is your fault for not agreeing to help." Officer Keats held out her hand for my phone. I gave it to him. "Ms. Rollon, this is Officer Rylan Keats with the Briarbrook PD. Your children were found abandoned on the sidewalk. We are filing a child endangerment report. You need to return to the city immediately. That is not optional." The officer's expression grew stony. Whatever Valeria said wasn't cooperative. Was horrified. He'd been told I had agreed to watch the kids and that Valeria had arranged everything properly. "I never would have gone along with this if I'd known," he said tightly. "We're coming back right now." Marlene called next, screeching about how I was tearing the family apart. "Your daughter abandoned her children on a street corner," I said flatly. "I'm not the villain here. You refused to help. What was she supposed to do? Find a responsible babysitter. Hire a service. Cancel her trip. Literally anything except endanger her own children. You've always been jealous of Valeria." Hung up. CPS launched their investigation within 48 hours. A caseworker named Tessa Warrington contacted me for a statement. I provided everything. Valeria spiraled. She called me screaming, blaming me for ruining her marriage and her reputation. Damon filed for divorce 3 weeks later and sought primary custody, using the police report as Exhibit A. Marlene backed Valeria, sending me long text messages about family loyalty. But this wasn't about loyalty. It was about 2 small children whose own mother used them as disposable burdens. And I wasn't having it. The CPS investigation launched within 48 hours. A caseworker named Tessa Warrington contacted me for a statement. I provided everything. The phone records showing Valeria's demands and my refusal. Police report. Witness statements from the neighbors who found the kids. The taxi company's logs showing the driver had been given an incomplete address. The taxi company was under investigation as well for accepting unaccompanied minors without proper authorization, but that was a separate matter. Damon filed for divorce 3 weeks later. He'd hired a family law attorney and was seeking primary custody based on Valeria's demonstrated negligence. The police report became Exhibit A in his filing. Valeria spiraled. She called me screaming, blaming me for destroying her marriage and turning everyone against her. Marlene backed her up naturally, sending me long messages about loyalty and forgiveness. "Those children could have been kidnapped, trafficked, or killed," I texted back. "There is no forgiving that level of recklessness." Colton called next, which was rare. My father usually let my mother handle family drama. Your mother is very upset. Valeria endangered her own children because I wouldn't drop everything for her convenience. I have nothing to apologize for. She made a mistake. She made a choice. Mistakes are accidents. This was deliberate disregard for her children's safety. He sighed heavily. Your sister needs support right now. Her children needed protection. That's more important. The custody battle stretched over 4 months. Damon's attorney was ruthless, documenting every instance of Valeria's neglectful behavior. There was the time she left Merrick in a hot car to run into a store. The afternoon she forgot to pick up Ophelie from school because she was at a hair appointment. The incident where she let the kids play unsupervised near a busy street while she took selfies. Between the initial police report and the custody hearing, my life became consumed by legal proceedings and family warfare. Marlene launched a full-scale campaign against me, calling every relative we had to spin her version of events. According to her narrative, I was a bitter, childless woman who had weaponized one mistake to steal my sister's children out of jealousy. Our Aunt Seraphine, my mother's younger sister, called me one Wednesday evening. Your mother is beside herself. She can barely get out of bed. Her grandchildren were left alone on a street corner, I replied. Maybe her priorities are misplaced. Valeria said you refused to help out of spite. Valeria asked me to babysit with an hour's notice. I had work obligations. I said no, which is my right as an adult with my own life. She then committed a crime by endangering her children. Family helps family, Greer. Family doesn't endanger children. Seraphine hung up on me. She wasn't the last. Over the following weeks, I received countless messages from cousins, family friends, and people I barely remembered meeting. All of them had been fed Valeria's version where she was the victim of my cruelty. I stopped defending myself after a while. The people who mattered knew the truth. Everyone else could believe whatever they wanted. My job became a refuge during those months. My supervisor, Ariana Sandhurst, called me into her office after noticing my distraction during meetings. Everything okay? You seem stressed. I gave her the abbreviated version. Her expression shifted from concern to outrage. She put the kids in a cab to a wrong address. And now you're the villain for reporting it. You potentially saved those kids' lives. Ariana leaned back in her chair. Take whatever time you need for court dates or meetings. We'll work around it. That kindness meant everything during a period when my own family was treating me like a pariah. The preliminary custody hearing happened on a gray October morning. Damon's attorney, a sharp woman named Helena Cray, had prepared me extensively. Valeria's team will try to discredit you. They'll suggest you're exaggerating or that you have ulterior motives. They come. Stick to facts. Don't let them bait you. The courthouse was downtown, all marble floors and echoing hallways. Valeria arrived with her attorney, a man in an expensive suit who looked like he specialized in making problems disappear. She wouldn't look at me. Damon squeezed my shoulder before we entered the courtroom. Thank you for doing this. Those are my niece and nephew. I'd walk through fire for them. The hearing itself was brutal. Valeria's attorney painted her as a devoted mother who'd made an error in judgment during a stressful time. He emphasized her volunteer work at the kids' school, her involvement in their activities, and the stable home environment she provided. When Helena called me to testify, Valeria's attorney objected to nearly everything I said. Judge Ardith Moeller, a stern woman in her 60s, overruled most of the objections and let me speak. Ms. Harland, please describe the events of October 15th. I walked through it methodically. The conference I'd registered for months prior. Valeria's last-minute demand. My clear refusal and the reasons why. The phone call from Officer Keats. Finding Ophelie and Merrick terrified at the police station. Did Ms. Roland confirm your address before sending the children? No. If she had, she would have realized the address doesn't exist as she wrote it down. Did she inform you she was sending them despite your refusal? No. I had no knowledge they were coming until the police called. Valeria's attorney stood for cross-examination. Ms. Harland, isn't it true that you've always resented your sister's success? No. You're not jealous that she has a family while you're single and childless. Helena objected. Sustained. Counselor, stick to relevant questions. He switched tactics. Ms. Harland, how many times have you watched your niece and nephew? Dozens. So you've established a pattern of helping your sister. I helped when my schedule allowed and when I was asked with reasonable notice. And on this occasion you chose work over family. I chose a professional commitment I'd made months in advance over a last-minute demand that ignored my boundaries. He tried several more angles, but the police report was damning. Officer Keats' testimony about finding 2 small children abandoned on a sidewalk was worse. The taxi company's logs sealed it. Judge Moeller ordered a full custody evaluation. These are serious allegations. I want a comprehensive assessment of both parents before making any determinations. The evaluation process took 6 weeks. Damon and Valeria both underwent psychological assessments, home visits, and interviews with court-appointed evaluators. The kids were interviewed separately by a child psychologist specializing in custody cases. I wasn't part of the official evaluation, but awfully later told me what the psychologist asked. She wanted to know if we felt safe with Mom. I told her about the time Mom left Merrick in the car and he couldn't get out because the child locks were on. What did she say? She wrote it down and asked about other times we felt scared. Merrick told the psychologist about an incident at a playground where Valeria had been so absorbed in her phone that he climbed equipment meant for older kids and fell, breaking his arm. Valeria's version had been that she'd looked away for seconds. Merrick's account made it clear she'd been distracted for 15 minutes. The evaluator's report was devastating. Pattern of neglectful behavior. Prioritizing her wants over their needs. Minimal awareness of age-appropriate supervision. The taxi incident labeled a severe lapse in judgment. I received a subpoena for the final custody hearing. This one would determine the actual arrangement going forward. Damon's parents flew in from Eldermere, Oregon. I'd met them a few times. Nice people who adored their grandchildren. His mother, Karina, hugged me. Thank you for protecting them. His father, Rourke, shook my hand. Takes guts to stand up to family. Valeria took the stand first. Her attorney had coached her well. She cried at appropriate moments, insisted she loved her children, and claimed the taxi incident was a one-time mistake. I would never intentionally put my children at risk, she said tearfully. It was a terrible error. Mrs. Rollon, Helena asked during cross, can you address the other incidents in the evaluation report? Those are misunderstandings. The car thing was 5 minutes. The playground fall was an accident. You left a 5-year-old locked in a car for 18 minutes, Helena said calmly. Valeria's composure cracked. I lost track of time. People make mistakes. These aren't mistakes. These are patterns. When I testified again, Valeria's attorney tried to paint me as vindictive. But the facts were undeniable. Judge Moeller's ruling came 3 weeks later. Damon got primary physical custody. Valeria received supervised visitation pending completion of parenting courses and psychological counseling. The judge wrote that Valeria showed a demonstrable pattern of neglect and a fundamental failure to prioritize child safety. Valeria blamed me for all of it. Marlene stopped speaking to me entirely. But I slept better than I had in years because Ophelia and Merrick were finally safe. The aftermath of the custody ruling created shockwaves I hadn't fully anticipated. Valeria's social circle turned on her almost immediately. Other mothers at the kids' school had heard about the court case, and suddenly, the woman who had been hosting elaborate birthday parties and organizing fundraisers was being excluded from playdate groups and parent committees. She blamed me for that too, naturally. As if I had any control over how other parents reacted to learning she had endangered her own children. My coworker, Julianne, stopped by my desk about a month after the ruling. I saw you mentioned in some parenting forum, she said carefully. My stomach sank. What were they saying? Just that someone local lost custody for child endangerment. No names, but the details were specific enough that people were guessing. She hesitated. If anyone here gives you grief about it, let me know. Thanks, I said. I appreciate it. The speculation didn't bother me as much as it probably should have. People talk. The court documents were public record for anyone determined enough to look. What mattered was that Ophelia and Marek were in a safer environment. Damon invited me to his apartment for dinner that first week after getting primary custody. The place looked different already. More structured, more peaceful. He'd set up consistent routines for homework, meals, and bedtime. There was a chore chart on the fridge and a calendar marking important dates. They're adjusting better than I expected, he said while the kids played in the living room. Ophelia seems more relaxed. Marek's sleeping through the night again. They know they're safe now, I said. That makes all the difference. Valeria's attorney is already filing motions to modify visitation, he added. Already? She hasn't even started the mandated counseling yet. I know. Helena says it won't go anywhere, but it's going to be a constant battle. He ran a hand through his hair, exhaustion radiating off him. I need to ask you something. Anything. Would you be willing to be listed as an emergency guardian? If something happens to me, I want to make sure the kids don't default back to Valeria. The weight of what he was asking settled hard over me. Are you sure? That's a huge responsibility. You're the only person I trust completely with them. You've already proven you'll put their safety first. Then yes, I said softly. Absolutely yes. We completed the paperwork that week. I became the designated guardian if Damon ever became incapacitated. Valeria would have contested it if she'd known, but Helena assured us it was legally sound. Marlene found out somehow and left me a voicemail dripping with venom. You're trying to steal those children permanently. What kind of monster turns against her own blood? The kind who won't let two children be abandoned again, I murmured as I deleted the message. Work became my sanctuary. I immersed myself in projects, volunteered for complex assignments, and built friendships with colleagues who had no idea what my family life looked like. Ariana recommended me for a promotion, which I received 3 months after the hearing. You've been through hell, she said during lunch. But you never let it affect your work. That's admirable. Work made sense. Merit made sense. Family did not. The supervised visitation started 2 months after the ruling. The court-appointed monitor, Graham Kohler, a retired social worker with 15 years' experience, didn't tolerate nonsense. Ophelia told me about the first supervised visit. Mom cried a lot, she said quietly. She kept saying the judge didn't understand and that Dad was turning us against her. How did that make you feel? Confused. We're not against her. We just want her to be safe with us. What did Graham do? He told her to focus on us, not the court case. Did she? Not really. She stayed on her phone a lot. The pattern continued. Valeria showed up physically, but mentally she was elsewhere, complaining, scrolling, disconnected. Graham's reports reflected it clearly. This isn't getting better, Damon said one evening, passing me a folder of reports. If anything, she's getting worse. What does Helena say? That it strengthens our case if Valeria pushes for changes. But it also means the kids aren't getting the mother they deserve. That was the tragedy underneath it all. Ophelia and Marek loved their mother deeply. They wanted her to show up for them. They deserved that. Valeria's mandated parenting classes were held twice weekly for 12 weeks. She missed 4 sessions in the first month alone. The coordinator warned her that more absences would result in failure. She began attending more regularly, but her participation was minimal. The psychological evaluation was even more revealing. Her therapist described her as having narcissistic tendencies, poor insight, and limited capacity for empathy, especially regarding her children's emotions. She needed long-term therapy, minimum 6 months, before the court would even consider unsupervised visits. Valeria called me after receiving the report. "Are you happy now?" she demanded. "They're calling me a narcissist who can't love her own kids." "They're calling you someone who needs help," I corrected. "There's a difference. This is all your fault. If you had babysat that weekend, none of this would have happened. If you had accepted my no like an adult, none of this would have happened. If you had written a complete address, none of this would have happened. If you had prioritized your children's safety, none of this would have happened. You ruined my life." "I can live with your hatred," I said. "What I couldn't live with is burying your children." She hung up. Colton called 20 minutes later. "Your sister is devastated. Your grandchildren could have been dead," I replied. "I'm not sure why everyone keeps losing sight of that. Nobody is losing sight of anything. She's trying to get better. She's going through motions because a court ordered her to. That's not the same thing." The months dragged on. Valeria finally completed the parenting classes. She attended mandated therapy, though her therapist reported low engagement. Her supervised visits remained inconsistent. I started taking the kids one weekend per month to give Damon a break. We went to museums, movies, parks, anything that let them just be kids. One weekend, Merrick asked me something that shattered my heart. "Aunt Greer, why doesn't Mom like us as much as her friends?" "Oh, sweetheart, she loves you very much," I said softly. "Then why does she look at her phone instead of looking at us? And why did she put us in that taxi alone?" I was really scared. I pulled him close. "Some adults have a hard time showing love the right way. That's not your fault. It's something she needs to work on. Are you going to send us away too?" "Never," I whispered. "I will always be here for you." Awfully joined the hug silently. "You're the only grown-up who doesn't break promises," she murmured. 4 months after the ruling, Damon brought the kids to my apartment for dinner. As soon as they were inside, Awfully handed me a construction paper card covered in crayon hearts. "We made this at school," she said proudly. Merrick hugged my waist. "We missed you." Smiled. "I missed you too." Damon pulled me aside. "Valeria's attorney is pushing again for changes," he said. "Claims she's completed the requirements. What do you think will happen?" "The judge will probably allow limited, unsupervised visits eventually." My stomach twisted. "She hasn't changed," I whispered. "I know. But I can't keep them from their mother forever." 8 months after the initial ruling, the court granted Valeria unsupervised day visits every other weekend, gradually increasing toward possible overnights. Graham remained on call for spot checks. I ran into Valeria at Marlene's birthday gathering, the first family event I had attended since everything happened. She looked older than her 32 years, worn down. The moment she saw me, her face twisted with rage. "You destroyed my life. You endangered your children," I replied evenly. "I just made sure there were consequences. They're my kids. They're human beings who deserved better than being dumped on a sidewalk because you didn't write down an address." Marlene appeared, glass of champagne in hand. "Can we please not do this today? Your daughter nearly got her children kidnapped," I said calmly. "But sure, let's pretend." Valeria lunged at me. Damon caught her arm. "I hate you," she spat. "I hope you're happy." "I'm happy they're safe," I said. "Everything else is noise." The party ended early. Colton walked me to my car, hands shoved into his pockets. "Your mother wants you to apologize." "For what?" "For testifying. For causing problems in the family." I testified truthfully. If the truth caused problems, Valeria caused them. She's trying to get better. She should have tried 10 years ago. She's still your sister. And those are still children who nearly died because she was too entitled to hear the word no. The supervised visitation lasted a full year before overnights were allowed again. Valeria completed her courses and therapy, but her growth was shallow. She remained inconsistent, forgetting medications, skipping scheduled activities, breaking promises. Damon documented everything. I saw the kids often. I was their emergency contact. I picked them up from school when needed. Awfully confided in me about crushes and school stress. Merrick FaceTimed me with Lego builds and jokes. They were thriving despite everything. Valeria's bitterness toward me never faded. Family gatherings became tense, with her making snide comments about me stealing her children's love. I stopped responding. Marlene's health declined, aggressive lung cancer. She refused to speak to me even as she deteriorated. Colton urged me to visit, but Marlene only wanted Valeria. She passed on a Tuesday. Valeria called screaming that I had killed her with stress. Colton simply sounded tired when he asked me to come to the funeral. I went. I sat in the back. I didn't engage with Valeria's theatrics. Afterward, Damon texted me. The kids wanted me to tell you they're proud of you for coming. Life moved forward. Damon's divorce was finalized 18 months after the custody ruling. Valeria remarried 2 years later to a surgeon named Dr. Phineas Caro. They had a daughter, Clary. Over time, the court allowed her more regular overnights with Offaly and Merrick, though Damon kept strict boundaries. I earned another promotion. I started dating someone who respected me. My life no longer revolved around Valeria's chaos. Offaly graduated middle school last spring. She gave a speech about resilience and having people who stand up for you even when it's hard. She looked directly at me when she said it. Afterward, she hugged me. Thank you for not letting anything bad happen to us. Always, I whispered. Always. Merrick started middle school this fall. He joined chess and debate. Damon likes to joke he'll be a lawyer one day. Last week, Offaly confided she liked a boy. Merrick proudly showed me an essay he wrote about personal heroes, where he chose Damon and me. You saved us, he said simply. Dad says telling the truth when family doesn't want you to is the bravest thing. A message from Valeria arrived later that same week, the first in 3 years. The kids' therapist says they need me to be more present. This is your fault. They wouldn't need therapy if you hadn't interfered. I blocked her number. Some people never learn. Colton calls occasionally now. He admits he should have stood up for me more. He says Valeria sometimes asks if I'm happy or if I want to reconcile. I am happy, I told him. And no, I don't think about reconciling. He was quiet for a moment. You turned out stronger than any of us expected. I turned out as strong as I needed to be. Sometimes I think about that Saturday morning when Officer Keats called. How my entire life pivoted on Valeria's assumption that I'd comply even after saying no. How she valued a vacation more than her children's safety. How close we came to tragedy. I don't regret any of it. The fractured family ties. The resentment. The loss of my parents' approval. All worth it. Offaly and Merrick grew up knowing someone would protect them, even at great personal cost. That's what love looks like. Not the conditional affection Marlene offered. Not the entitlement Valeria demanded. But real love. Love that shows up. Love that stays. Offaly wants me to help her shop for high school next summer. Merrick wants me to teach him to drive when he turns 16. Damon's parents invite me to every holiday. They treat me like family. I built something better than what I lost. A chosen family that respects boundaries and values safety. A life where I'm not constantly bracing for the next crisis. Valeria can hate me forever. Changes nothing. I'll still be here when Offaly and Merrick need me. It's a promise I made in a police station years ago. And I'll keep it until the day I die.